Okay, first thing I want to address. Atlas, I agree with your reasoning. I do. I hate spoilers myself. But the threat was a bit much. Actually, it was a lot much. Actually, I think you were being a bunch of...
Don't want to talk about it.
On with the review. This is Persona 5. Enjoy. Or don't. Persona 5 is the latest entry in the Persona series, which itself is a spin-off of the Megami Tensei series. Apparently. This is my first Persona game. Does it show? Persona 5 is a JRPG, that's a Japanese role-playing game, and it has all the hallmarks. Turn-based battle system? Check. Over-the-top visuals and attacks? Check. Schoolgirls in short skirts and tight leather outfits? Check. Yeah, this is Japanese, alright.
Your teenage protagonist is wrongly accused of assault, slapped with a criminal record, put on probation, and is sent off to live in a cafe with a crotchety owner and a brand new school because... reasons.
Actually, it's because every adult in this game is an arsehole. Well, okay, not every single one, but you have to work hard to find one that isn't. Miss Kawakami, I was calling her Miss Bitch for the longest time. It turns out there's a reason she's behaving like that. A damn good reason. Story is very good in this game.
Your only goal is to stay out of trouble. Yeah, you guessed it, not gonna happen. After meeting up with fellow student exile Ryuji, the two of you accidentally trigger the Metaverse Navigator app on your phone, a mysterious program that appears out of nowhere and refuses to stay deleted.
The metaverse is a place where cognition, or perception of reality, is more important than the actual reality itself. If someone's perception becomes heavily distorted, then it forms a palace. These palaces are how the owner sees the world around them, and inside the palace is a treasure, the object that represents their worldly desires. If you steal the treasure, they lose their desires, and they have a change of heart in the real world, and they confess all their sins.
Confused yet? Don't worry, you're not the only one. Ryuji is in a constant state of confusion, asking what's going on, what's that, how's that work?
What's going on here? This makes no effing sense at all!
Look, all you need to know is certain bad people have palaces. Break in, steal the treasure, they have a change of heart, and the world becomes a bit less crap. This game is a slow burner and heavily scripted, meaning you'll feel like you're playing one big tutorial rather than a game at first, and that feeling takes a while to go away. Due to circumstances beyond your control, you and a select group of others form the Phantom Thieves, and try to break into the palaces and steal the treasures. Of course, the palace's owner isn't just going to let you walk in and take the treasure. Naturally, there are guards all over the place. Fortunately, you can fight back.
Cognition is everything in the metaverse. If someone sees the school as their personal castle, it becomes their castle in the metaverse. If you have a realistic looking weapon in your hands, it'll behave as though it's real.
As a result, you buy replica weapons from a back alley shop in the real world. Same goes for armour and accessories, you get it all at the same place. They only look real, but that's the point. Once you're tooled up, you go in and take the treasure.
You're right, it's not that simple.
The guards will attack on sight, but being thieves you can sneak up on them. A successful ambush gives you the first strike in a fight. The battle system allows you to perform basic melee and gun attacks, but these aren't enough. That's where your persona comes in. Once a person's persona has awakened, they can call upon elemental attacks, buff their allies, debuff their enemies, and other little tricks. Most persona abilities require SP to use. Special melee abilities consume health instead.
Show me your true form!
Alright, the first move is ours! Less attacks will shut it down!
Give me a break.
You're so gorgeous, Panther. Can you finish it? We're done here. Let's go! Yeah! Victory!
Okay.
That was so easy, I'm yawning.
In addition, your character, Joker, has the power of the Wild card. You see, your allies only have one persona each, and they can't change. But Joker can hold multiple personas, and equip whichever he needs, allowing him to adapt to the situation. He can be a frontline warrior one moment, and a healing mage the next. There are safe rooms scattered at regular intervals throughout a palace that serve as both fast travel and save points. Yeah, there's no autosaving in this game, so make sure you have backups. There's also a place called the Velvet Room. Here you can execute, or fuse, two personas into a brand new, more powerful one. The system even allows you to search by result, which is what I do. This lets you see the results of all possible combinations, rather than having to test them all one by one. You gain new personas by holding up the enemy and talking them into joining you. They then appear in Joker's loadout as a new persona type. You gain the obvious stuff from the palace battles, XP, cash and items, but that's only half of the game. Hell, it's not even half of it. You'll spend far more time in the real world dealing with more serious problems. Like socialising, deciding where to eat, what book to read next, and studying for exams. That's not a joke, you really do have exams, and the teachers will surprise you with questions in class.
All joking aside, this game does actually deal with some serious issues, including but not limited to physical assault, sexual harassment, and suicide. And that's just within the game's first 4 hours. And a lot of people say that this game is between 80 and 100 hours long.
So those of a nervous or sensitive disposition, you have been warned. Back in the classroom though, you can reduce the stress of the in-class questions by cheating. The Thieves Guild app is an online system that allows you to see how other players answered. But be aware that at some point you will have to sit actual exams, and the Thieves Guild app is not available during those exams, which means you have to pay attention in class.
You only get questions based on what the game has taught you in the classroom, but quite cleverly, it won't ask you the same questions in exactly the same way. It does that exam thing where you get taught something in the classroom, and then come the exam question phrases the same question, but in a slightly different way. You're left with the distinct impression, well I was, that someone who has been through a lot of exams has put this thing together and knows exactly what exams are like. It's quite cleverly done.
You can also use the Thieves Guild app during free time periods to see what other players did with their free time, if you're stuck for ideas. Normally the only free time slots you have are after school and evening, although at first you can't leave the cafe on an evening. That'll change later though. Another thing you can do is form relationships with select people in-game. Form a bond with someone and they become a confidant. Party members who are confidants gain battle skills, while non-party characters gain support skills, such as a doctor offering more medical items for sale. And all the socialising you do adds up. Improving your base skills allows you to rank up your confidants, which in turn grants more battle and support abilities. In addition, those confidant ranks grant massive XP and level bonuses when fusing personas at the Velvet Room. You'll spend far more time socialising in this game than you will fighting, You'll never feel you just wasted your time going to the movies rather than working at the local shop, but you do need to bear in mind that each palace has a deadline you must complete it by. Miss the deadline and it's game over. That's because the game is working to a script and you have to dance to its tune. Which brings me to my first major complaint.
Okay, so what happened with this is there's a DVD rental shop on Central Street. I went to the shop, rented a DVD for 7 days, which is the time period you can rent things for, and I took it home, watched the first half, because the DVDs usually come in 2 parts. Watched the first half, and then the following 2 days I decided to go off and do something else. But then I wanted to come back to the DVD. But the game wouldn't let me. It wouldn't let me do anything with my free time. It locked me into what it wanted to do. Because this game is narrative driven, it wanted me to do specific things. I didn't return the DVD until 10 days later or something like that. It ended up being, I had the DVD for 14 days. And I was only supposed to have it for 7. So I got fined by the shop. It was about 2,800 yen or something. But I got fined. I got fined because I was late. And it wasn't my fault that the DVD was late. And that annoyed me. And it was a little thing. It was a little thing because the first time the DVD is late, they waive the fee. And you don't have to pay it. But it just served to underline for me how much railroading this game does. It forces you to do what it wants you to do. I mean, it's not much of a complaint because the game itself, the story is so good and so well written, you don't mind that it railroads you down it. But that was just one rare moment where the railroading became very obvious, and it did annoy me. But that was the only time it happened to me.
So your free time is not as free as you think it is, at least most of the time. You'll have to spend time in the palace, trying to balance your resource use against the need to make progress. You have limited SP and gun ammo per palace visit, so you'll have to pace yourself and not overuse your abilities or firearms. But doing so is often the only way to make progress, so it's a constant balancing act, made a bit harder by the need to meet that deadline. You are the Phantom Thieves, and sneaking into palaces is your specialty. However, stealth is only a means to an end here. You still need to fight to gain enough XP to level up to face more powerful foes. If you sneak past every enemy in the palace, which is impossible by the way, you'd be screwed by the time you hit the boss. Which brings me to my second major complaint. The stealth system allows you to quick move from cover to cover, but the camera won't turn very far in either direction. This is as far as the camera will turn, right here. This means you can't look behind you to see where you've come from to get back. You're only invisible while in cover, and you have to come out of cover before you can go back the way you came.
I don't understand. The game isn't normally like this. It was obviously a design choice on the part of the developers. I'm just having a hard time working out the reason for this choice. Some stealth games do this. They do limit your field of view when you're in cover. But this isn't a stealth game. It's not designed with stealth being the primary element. The stealth is only a means to an end. It gives you the first strike in combat if you ambush an enemy, but that's it.
Enemies get progressively more difficult as you advance through a palace. It always seems as though they get more powerful quicker than you do as you push forwards. This will force you to grind the earlier sections to gain XP so you can face the later enemies.
Persona! Get ready!
Can't believe this. I got too reckless. I'll back out and focus on support. That hurts! Skull's out! We've got to help him!
I ran into the first boss when I was at level 8, and I got my ass utterly handed to me, just totally. I could not inflict enough damage on the guy. That was my problem. I had to go back to an earlier save point and grind the earlier sections until I was like level 10 or 11 or something. And then, the boss wasn't a breeze, but I managed to get past him a lot easier. Just an extra 3 levels made all the difference. And there are some enemies right in front of the boss that are like level 16. And I know that you can use elemental attacks and whatnot to knock the enemy down and make it a lot easier. But even so, when you're at level 8 and they're at like level 16, you've no chance. You will have to grind in this game to make up the extra levels. You can't just go straight to the boss. You won't have enough XP to do it with.
Couple of things I do also want to mention. This is a PS3 game ported to the PS4. Maybe graphics geeks will be able to tell you the difference, you know, someone obsessed with pixels per inch and frames per second. There's a few rough edges that are sometimes obvious, but it still looks great. The art style is eye-catching and gives you the impression of movement and action even if neither is currently happening. The text, the characters, the attacks, the city, everything. Rather amusingly, the background people are deliberately rendered with simpler character models. If you make contact with each other, not only do they offer no resistance or obstruction, but they phase out, becoming invisible, emphasising just how much they don't matter to the plot. The other thing is something you cannot fault the game on: the soundtrack. It is amazing.
Let's go. It's time. Persona!
If we don't break out of here, wake up there. Raise your voice, I guess, like yours. Feed your anger like fire. Why does nobody want you?
I bet Skull wouldn't pull it off that smoothly.
There he is! They're here. The intruders are here.
Just run! Get out of there! Okay, the enemy's focus is on him. Looks like the rest of us can move away. Everyone remember where we're meeting up? No worries, I can guide you all.
I have some issues with this game. The fact that I couldn't return the DVD until 14 days after I'd rented it out for 7 days, the fact that the camera during the stealth section doesn't seem to behave itself, and the fact that you can't do as much with your free time as I wanted to. But there's so much to compliment this game on. The visuals are great, the music amazing, the characters well written, the story superb. There's very little that is actually wrong with this game, and my problems that I've had are merely little kinks. Persona 5 gets a 9 out of 10. This is a superb game. If you're a fan of RPGs, you should definitely get this game. If you're a fan of JRPGs, you should already have it. Another thing I want to point out is that Atlus spent 10 years developing this game. 10 years. And it shows. Because I bought this game and there has been no day one patch. At all. There has been no patches since then either. And nobody tried to tell me that it's because, oh, you downloaded it and the patches are included in the download. I have the disc-based version of the game, okay? The disc-based version. I have received no updates from the system for this game. None. That's how good the game was, how good a state it was in when Atlus pushed it out the door. And in this day and age, when every game, let's be honest, patches the game to high hell either on day one or afterwards, I think that's worth mentioning. So that's my review of Persona 5, 9 out of 10, superb game. If you're a fan of JRPGs, you should probably go out and get this if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.
Didn't make it.